I'd like to introduce John Gamble and Tom Bryson. Hi, guys.
How are you doing, Tom?
Good. From EHT, we are standing here today. It's really been an incredible day here in the installation of your Enerpole.
That's correct. This is the first installation that we've had locally that people can come and actually see a hybrid generator working in a real-world environment. And we've got it right here in Welland, Ontario, and that's right behind us.
And it's right behind us. Quite a feat, I understand, of technology, design.
John and I have been working on this as a combined effort for the past 15 months or so, and it began with the small EnerCube that you can see immediately behind us, and it gravitated to a much larger unit, which is the integrated wind and solar pole that you see behind us that can generate up to 15 or 20 kilowatts as opposed to 1 or 2 kilowatts for the small home unit.
Right. Now, when we talk integrated, we're talking here about wind and solar together.
That's correct.
And it really is the fusion of what was two companies bringing together wind and the solar technologies. Is that fair to say?
That's correct. That's correct. The original company was a company that just manufactured solar panels and did solar installations, and then we merged with Tom's company, which he had the patents on the wind turbine and the vertical vane technology, to combine the two to make a hybrid solution.
Right. And of course, you know, that hybrid solution, I think most people in the renewable industry have realized that there really is complementariness between wind and solar. In some ways, it's a bit of a no-brainer.
It's so funny you say that. Renewable energy has been with us for many, many years. But even in a large company, and I won't mention any, their wind and solar divisions are separate entities. They don't speak to each other. And one of the reasons is the power that's produced is different. Wind produces AC three-phase. Solar panels produce DC single-phase. And with our combined company, we have a new solar charge controller that will take the input from both and consolidate it and merge it and put it into a battery for use later, or feed it back into the grid.
So the power that's coming off of both of them are combined DC?
That's correct. Or AC.
Or AC.
Convert it, invert it, do whatever you need.
Flip it whichever way it needs to be.
Which way that you're trying to do with it, whether you're putting it into a battery or you're putting it into a net meter solution.
So then let's talk a bit more about applications. You've already mentioned some, and those are some technologies and some programs, but in terms of where they would be going, and talk to me a bit about that.
I think our main low-hanging fruit is for applications where the grid that we plug into every day in our home is not readily available. 90% of the world has no grid, so we're looking at what we call a microgrid installation, and that is to put power and use it. Rather than distributing it from Nanticoke or from Bruce Nuclear, we actually produce it locally and use it locally. And that way you don't need the whole grid infrastructure, the overhead wires.
Okay. So in Ontario here, that could include Aboriginal communities, I imagine?
Well, and there is a lot of Aboriginal communities that absolutely need this kind of power, but there is a lot of other communities as well in the north. And if you look at, just people in cottage country, if you're setting up a cottage today and you want to connect to the grid, you're looking at hydro costs of up to $30,000 per pole to bring power to you. Or if you're on an island, the cost of submerging power lines today is off the charts. So if with a solution like this, we can put this pole or use our cubes to power any of those solutions.
And so that's kind of in the area here. You guys also are working internationally.
Correct. A big application for us is in cellular towers, and a lot of people don't even think about their cell phone, but whenever you see a cell tower, it requires electricity to power it. And if there's no grid available, they power it with diesel generators, some of them using 28,000 liters a year. So now with our solution, we can reduce all that carbon, reduce all the costs and all the delivery by having wind and solar on the actual cell tower. And this is in places like China, India, Africa, the US and Canada. There's lots of areas here where people are servicing cell towers off-grid by helicopter. It's tremendously expensive to get the power and the diesel fuel delivered to them.
So the Enerpole that we're seeing behind us then, we've got 6 panels at the bottom of that to provide the solar. We have the wind vines at the top. Within that cell tower mix, we would then see the antennas and so forth above that. Is that how that would typically work out?
That is correct.
And I know even on this installation, you've done something kind of akin to that with internet, even you're broadcasting locally here.
Correct.
Now, of course, we're outside here today. We got a bit of a breeze going on here, as I'm sure you can hear in the background, as well as the birds. But even in this light breeze, we're getting some action on these.
That's correct. Yeah, the wonderful thing about our generator is it has no yoke, it has no core, and no brushes. So it spins very, very easily in low wind, and it reaches its peak output at 80 RPM. Whereas a lot of conventional wind turbines have to be spinning incredibly quickly to get peak power.
So I know in Ontario here, they have weather maps showing where there is the highest available wind and this kind of thing. And of course, they have targeted traditional wind turbines in those spaces.
Correct.
When you're talking about putting this on a cell tower or something like that, you don't have that luxury of being in a high wind area.
That's correct. And the nice thing is the flexibility of our system. We can add more vanes in a low wind area to get the same appreciable amount of power. So we're not looking at the ultimate amount of power being produced, we're looking at power for an application. So in a cell tower that has high wind, we can use a 2-vane system. In an application where it's very low wind, we may have to use 4 vanes to get the same output.
And on the interpole behind us, you have a 2, a 3, and a 4.
Correct. And we're gathering data on all 3 of them simultaneously in the identical wind conditions so that we can actually correlate the output to the prevailing wind speed. And if you look on top of the pole, there's a whole weather station there that's picking up all of the dynamic data for wind speed, direction, gusts, and we're able to catalog all of that and analyze it.
You know, we're talking about cell towers in Ontario and remote locations here. It seems that, I mean, I understand Africa it's a very mobile continent with cell towers all over the place.
They do. And the cell towers there all need power. Every one of them is being run by diesel generators. The other thing is in Africa, there is no grid. And this product will solve the grid issues. By utilizing this technology, villages today that have no power can set up one of our poles, one of our intercubes, run a pump so that they can now get water, fresh water every day, and they can have some lights at night with some low wattage LEDs, and also a connection to the internet, that now they can be empowered to go to school and to learn and to move forward, as they did with cell phones.
Right. Yeah, they skipped the whole landline.
They skipped the whole landline. Now they're going to skip the whole thing with the grid.
Yeah, the governments have already acknowledged the fact they have to give power to these people in rural regions. But they can't afford the infrastructure. The developing world can't afford it. So they're burning fossil fuels to meet all their needs. We've got a scalable solution that is power in an hour. They can actually install a pole and be running power that night. Whereas if you set about to build a nuclear plant, it's 20 years from now before you turn on the first light bulb, and an awful lot of cost.
Right. So we're talking way beyond just powering a cell tower. We're talking about powering a cell tower plus a community.
Remote power generation.
Correct.
Wow, that is pretty radical.
Well, we're getting an awful lot of feedback from all parts of the world, people who have a real need and a demand for this type of relocatable power. And I'm sure that your viewers will come up with some applications we've never thought about.
Sure.
And we'd love them to go to the website and give us some ideas.
Well, so then tell us about what that website is, where they can go and contact you guys.
Yeah, you can just send an email to info@ehthybrid.com.
And that's, of course, the website, EHThybrid.com, where they can find out more information about the different products that you guys have there.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And as part of that then, your company is also a manufacturer of panels as well in this mix.
That's correct.
Okay, and for the local Ontario market as well as for international markets.
That is correct, and we can we manufacture the panels that go on each one of our cubes. So we manufacture them, so we're sending panels made in Canada and exporting them out to the world.
Great. Well, great, guys. It sounds incredible, and the best of success. I mean, as I say, it seems like a bit of a no-brainer. So,
and we're so happy to be here in Welland. We think it's a great success story for a great part of the world.